He's here. Now, broadcasting from the underground command post, deep in the bowels of a hidden bunker, somewhere under the brick and steel of a nondescript building, we've once again made contact with our leader, Mark Levin.
Number 877-381-3811, 877-381-3811. You ever go to the House Progressive Caucus site? You can see it on the internet, what they stand for. These are Marxists. Universal health care, a progressive national security, climate justice, a fair economy. These are Marxists. And we've had a long talk about this. Pramila Jayapal from Seattle is the chairman. The deputy chair is Ilhan Omar. The chair emeritus is Barbara Lee. The whip is Greg Caesar. These are the worst of the worst. The worst of the worst. They are economic socialists. They are cultural Marxists. They reject everything we believe in. I want to make something abundantly clear. Those who name call neocon and rhino and all that, you have no impact on me whatsoever. None. You're not conservatives. You're not constitutionalists. You're not capitalists. You don't believe in this country any more than these progressives do, these Marxists do. Because you would never catch me dead conspiring with these people, conspiring with these Marxist Democrats in the House of Representatives that hates your guts, each and every one of you, that supports an open border, that opposes real constitutionalism, that back Black Lives Matter, that back Antifa, that hate the United States military, that hate our police and their defund movement. How many of you would sit down with them and cut a deal? With AOC, with Ilhan Omar, with Tlaib, with Bowman, with Jayapal, with Barbara Lee. How many of you would do that and then claim to be a conservative? Would you, Mr. Producer? I wouldn't even want to be in the same room with these people. But I'm the big conservative, don't you know? I want to cut government. I want to shut down the whole damn thing. And if it means making deals with Marxists, by God, I will do it. Then you're listening to the wrong program. Goodbye. Goodbye. You're listening to the wrong program. Because you don't care about the country. That's not to say you have to agree with the Republicans. I've been sitting behind this microphone almost 21 years duking it out with Republicans. You know how Mark Meadows came up with the idea to try and remove the former speaker, John Boehner? He called me, and I went through the process with him. And I told him what the petition should say. And we went over it together. Remember that, Mark? Remember that? Why? Because John Boehner was trying to destroy the Tea Party. Because he was colluding with Barack Obama against conservatives. Because he was removing conservatives from committees like Mark Meadows. That's why. Nobody duked it out with Paul Ryan more than I. We were friends at one point when he was conservative, not anymore. I didn't change. They changed. Orrin Hatch. I've known Orrin Hatch since I was 24 years old. Then in his last term, he moved left. I criticized him. He called me on the phone. I wouldn't take his call. Ben Sasse ran as a Tea Party candidate. Then he threw in with Bob Corker in Tennessee to undermine, I believe, the country on his position on Iran. He called me, and I told him, don't ever call me again. I don't work with these people on the Hill. I don't want to work with them. At the same time, behind this microphone, when Ted Cruz was at 5% and called me, we jumped in and fought like hell. Mike Lee at the convention in Utah, we jumped in and we fought like hell. He was the underdog. Marco Rubio, who doesn't even come on the show anymore. He'll go on every other show. When he was at 5% running as a Tea Party candidate, we jumped in to support him. And that made a huge difference. By we, I mean you. Taking on Mitch McConnell, I've done it for 15 years. He's a disgrace and always has been. You don't see all these people coming on my show. They'll go on the shows of other Fox people or the radio. Not mine. Because they don't want me and I don't want them. I know a huckster when I see one. I know a huckster when I see one. And for those on social media who haven't done a damn thing for this country, haven't raised a finger for this country, start trashing everybody else. Solid conservatives, Chip Roy, Byron Donalds, Tom McClintock, Jim Jordan. And I can go down a long list of Freedom Caucus members and other conservatives. Because they won't fall in line behind Matt Gaetz, who's a reprobate, who's cutting deals with Marxists. Then goodbye. I don't even know why you go on my social sites. You don't need to. Don't stress out. Here are the facts. I spoke to a couple of conservative Senate Republicans. I mean solid. And more than a couple of conservative House members. And I mean solid. On Friday, the Republican conference put up a bill, McCarthy. Listen to this. To vote to cut 30% to all federal agencies. 30%. And H.R. 2 to secure the border with mandates. The military, Obviously, the Border Patrol and Homeland Security and the Veterans Administration would be held harmless, but that's it. That 30% would apply to the Department of Justice, FBI, the whole kit and caboodle. The main person behind that was Byron Donalds. Not the only one, but the main. There was a whole strategy developed, and I took notes during these discussions, between the conservatives in the House and the conservatives in the Senate. An entire strategy, and that includes the Republican steering committee, with the likes of Ted Cruz, Mike Lee, and so forth and so on. And the plan was to get this passed in the House, and the Republicans agreed to it, the vast majority. Shockingly, even the moderates and the liberals. Get it over to the Senate, where the Senate conservatives would use it to pound Mitch McConnell, to have leverage with Mitch McConnell, the Senate Republican leadership, so-called. But it was killed by Matt Gaetz and 20 other House members who got nervous, who got scared. The original 5 were joined by 16. Now, that's not even 10% of the Republicans there, but the overwhelming majority of the Freedom Caucus, the conservatives, supported this bill, 30%. And rather than these pseudo-conservatives on social media supporting those who put forward this bill, who had a plan to duke it out in the Senate, to finally hold McConnell and their leadership responsible, they killed it. They voted with the Democrats. They voted with the Progressive Caucus. They voted with the Marxists. Because they said they wanted to shut down the government. You just got a 30% deal. Now the government's open for 45 days. And nothing is cut. Biden, Schumer, McConnell, Hakeem Jeffries, and the Progressive Caucus got their way because they ran circles around Matt Gaetz. They ran circles around him. Because he has a hate-on for McCarthy. And maybe some of you do too, but you've got to put the country first. You've got to put the country first. You can't do Pickett's charge and then claim you're a serious conservative. You can't be a kamikaze and claim you're a serious conservative. You're not. Because grave damage was done to this country. Because if that had passed, we'd be debating a very different scenario right now. The ball would be in the court of the Senate. McConnell would have his back to the wall. The conservatives in the Senate would be pressing. All of that was killed. For what? The original proposal was 8%. But the Republicans said, you know what? Let's cut 30. Let's cut 30. That's what we said in May. Let's do it. And all but 26 agreed. 30%. Doesn't mean that we're going to get 30%. But they wanted to have, they wanted to put a flag in the ground. They wanted a marker so they could have a solid foundation on which to fight, an agenda. Now they have nothing. And Gaetz is the first one out there saying McCarthy is the Democrat speaker, while he's negotiating with the Progressive Caucus, the lowest of the low lives in Washington, D.C. That is a snake. That's what that is. And for people to cheer this on is to encourage that kind of stupidity. That's not conservative. That's stupid. And you just gave aid and comfort to these Marxists, to Hakeem Jeffries, to Schumer, and Biden. Giving aid and comfort by putting your own personal obsessions ahead of the good of the country is not acceptable to me. And if you think that's okay, then you're not a conservative. That's okay. That's fine. Now, I've got a lot more to say. We'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
Have you been waiting to buy gold as an investment? Lots of commercials out there, but who can you really trust? I didn't want to make a bad investment, but didn't want to miss the boat either. Sound familiar? Fortunately, I've got great news. If you have an IRA or 401k and want to buy physical gold to diversify your investment, eliminate fear and uncertainty from the process, get the new Gold IRA Company Integrity Checklist. It helps you evaluate and choose the best gold IRA company. To get your free IRA Company Integrity Checklist today, text Levin to 68592. That's Levin to 68592. Now, I trust Augusta Precious Metals and invested myself. Use this checklist to choose the best gold IRA company for yourself and see if you agree. To get your free Gold IRA Company Integrity Checklist today, text Levin to 68592. Again, text Levin to 68592. Text date and message rates may apply. Performance varies. Consult your financial professionals before making investment decisions and get risk disclosures at AugustaPreciousMetals.com. And you know, the funny thing is, folks, regardless of how you feel about all this, most of the people you know have no comprehension of what's going on. They're not looking at the intricacies of 12 bills and all the rest, as important as that is. Even most people who think they're informed, you're more informed than they are. We could easily lose the House of Representatives. We only have a 5-vote majority, and one of these guys has been federally indicted. We could lose the Senate, and God forbid we could lose the presidency. And it's this kind of crap that turns people off. I'm in for the battle. I always have been, but not this one. I'm not going to help the Marxists. I'm not going to help the Democrat Party. And, of course, what was on the table was really beyond our imagination just a few weeks ago. And it was a brilliant strategy to now bring in the conservatives in the Senate to take on their leadership. And it was killed. More when I return. Have you been waiting to buy gold as an investment? Lots of commercials out there, but who can you really trust? I didn't want to make a bad investment, but didn't want to miss the boat either. Sound familiar? Fortunately, I've got great news. If you have an IRA or 401k and want to buy physical gold to diversify your investment, eliminate fear and uncertainty from the process, get the new Gold IRA Company Integrity Checklist. It helps you evaluate and choose the best gold IRA company. To get your free IRA Company Integrity Checklist today, text Levin to 68592. That's Levin to 68592. Now, I trust Augusta Precious Metals and invested myself. Use this checklist to choose the best gold IRA company for yourself and see if you agree. To get your free Gold IRA Company Integrity Checklist today, text Levin to 68592. Again, text Levin to 68592. Text date and message rates may apply. Performance varies. Consult your financial professionals before making investment decisions and get risk disclosures at AugustaPreciousMetals.com.
Mark Levin, radio's principled patriot. Call in now at 877-381-3811.
By the way, I do want to get to this Bowman situation. I also want to get to what happened in New York with this rogue judge who's preening for the camera in the so-called fraud case. The fraud is the guy with the robe on. I want you to listen to what Pramila Jayapal said the last midterm election. And she was at the AFL-CIO headquarters. She was bragging that 15 of the 18 candidates that the Congressional Progressive Caucus backed had won. And she says there's no question this will be the most progressive Democratic caucus in decades. And, of course, she's tied in with Bernie Sanders, that whole Marxist crowd, who Matt Gaetz is working with behind the scenes. And, Matt, if you want to lie, you come on this program, and I'll prove it. For once, somebody has to hold you to account because you're misleading millions and millions of people, a small percentage of whom think you're a demigod. Now, that was a bad blow, those midterm elections, don't you think? I mean, more Marxists are elected. The Congressional so-called Progressive Caucus, AAK, the Marxists, their numbers keep growing. The voting systems are changed to help these people get elected. They're backed by Soros. They're backed by these hardcore leftists. Now, I want you to hear what Mr. Montana conservative had to say. Matt Rosendale. Matt Rosendale, Mr. Montana conservative, who once ran for the Senate Montana, got his ass kicked. But that's okay. It happens. And this is from, I believe it's called The Messenger. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. Montana Republican Representative Matt Rosendale told top conservative donors last week that he was rooting against Republicans winning as many House seats as possible during the 2022 midterms, according to video obtained by, yes, The Messenger. Okay, so now we have one guy that's working with the Marxists, and we have another guy that says, I'm glad we didn't win most of those seats. Addressing a closed briefing, Rosendale said he hoped for as narrow a margin in the House as possible so that a small set of conservatives could, quote, drag the conference over to the right. Sound good to you? The Montanan made the comments last week as he and a small band of House Republicans attempted to steer the federal government into a shutdown. I do not mind shutdowns. This spending is unsustainable. That's exactly why I supported the 30% cut and securing the border. It's all unsustainable. The Republican is considering a rematch with Montana Democratic Senator John Tester in 2024. He already lost to the guy. This would be a disaster, these guys. A decision that would lead him to face off with the top Republican recruit, who I don't even know. Caroline Wren, who works as a fundraiser for both Gaetz and Rosendale, organized the event and described it to the Messenger as a virtual briefing for around 50 top conservative donors. Wren also has been a top fundraiser for former President Donald Trump. A Rosendale aide did not respond to the Messenger's request for comment. But Rosendale, staring straight into the camera at times, so he knew he was being videoed, he said, because I recognized that the small majority was the only way that we were going to advance a conservative agenda. And if it was the right majority, that if we had 6 or 7 very strong individuals, we would drag the conference over to the right. We were able to do that. He's such a liar. Nobody ever heard of Rosendale. The people in Montana barely know who Rosendale is. So he is saying, I'm the architect, he's saying. I, Rosendale, I'm the as blustery as this is. He said, I'm the architect of the failure of the Republicans to really blow out these Marxists. I did that. I'm over here. And for that, I want conservatives to donate to me. Is that not nuts, Mr. Producer? Although Republicans won't control the House. And by the way, I know the vast majority of you understand all this. I really do. But this needs to be discussed because these people are pretending to represent you. These people are pretending that they are the real heroes in the conservative movement and the cause. These guys are the dumbest group of 5 people I've ever heard of before. The Democrats did not support the 30% cut. They did not support securing the border. And yet these idiots threw in with the Democrats. There's no attempt at a rational argument that supports this. None. Particularly when it's part of a broader plan to give the conservatives in the Senate something to use to get leverage over McConnell. These guys have no plan. They have nothing. Although Republicans won control of the House, they expected a lot more than 222 Republicans and 213 Democrats. Anyway, so you've got one, the ringleader, Gaetz, who's now working with Jayapal and Tlaib and AOC and Omar. Either all of them, and if certainly some of them, if not directly, he's working with that caucus to try and get the votes. So who is it that's representing the Democrats in Congress? It's you, Matt. You need to put your country ahead of your own personal hatred. Man, you got to get control of it, brother. But he won't. And so this is what we're going to hear for the next 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 weeks, over and over and over and over again. Not the Democrats on defense in the House. Not the Democrats blamed for spending. Not the Democrats blamed for an open border. Not the Democrats blamed for climate change. You won't hear about any of that. And the Democrat Party media loves this because this is what they're going to headline day in and day out and day in. And this apparently is what Gaetz wants. So if we lose the next election, in part it's on these guys. And I don't just mean the House and the Senate. I mean the presidency. I'm serious about this. So, again, Rosendale and the chairman, the chair-it, I guess is the proper way to phrase it now, Jayapal are on exactly the same page. Defeat the Republicans in the House. And, you know, Rosendale had this backbencher, he had it so perfectly measured that they'd only have a 5 or 7 vote majority. He knew going in. It shows you how demented these people are. No, he didn't. But he not only takes credit for it, he's raising money on it. Jayapal's raising money to elect more Marxists on the fact that they were very successful in 2022. Rosendale's raising money with so-called conservative donors on the fact that Republicans didn't win enough seats. So in other words, they're on the same page. But it's not just Republicans. Conservatives went down too. Real conservatives. Then you got another one of these 5, Ken Buck. Ken Buck opposed Chip Roy's amendment, his spending amendment, that would prevent the Department of Defense from funding, ready for this, drag shows. Ken Buck voted against that. By the way, so did Nancy Mace. She's a mess. She's a head case, in my view. She's all over the map. But Ken Buck, Mr. Fiscal Responsibility, but that's one area of fiscal responsibility he couldn't support. That is, ensuring that your Defense Department doesn't spend 1 penny on drag queens. Many of you who put your names out on social media, you're making asses out of yourselves. When you support this kind of behavior and these kind of people. Tom McClintock, who's been a conservative forever. He's from California. He's one of the leading conservatives in the state and always has been. And I believe he ran for governor once. But he is a member of the House, and he's very, very solid. And I guess today he would be a neocon rhino, according to the pro-progressive caucus Marxists, I guess, Republicans out there. The uniparty? You know what's funny about that phrase? The uniparty. You're watching the uniparty with Gaetz and Jayapal, with Rosendale, who agrees with Jayapal that it's good the Republicans didn't win as many seats as they should have. There's your uniparty right there. That's a freak show. That's a freak show. I'm not like other hosts, America. I'm not like other conservatives who are scared of their own shadows, may turn off a tiny percentage of the base. That's not my base. Being stupid is not my base. Now, here's Tom McClintock on the floor of the House today. Cut 24, go.
Yet now, we are faced with the threat that a Republican will move to vacate the Republican Speaker of the House. It will only require 4 other Republican members to join the Democrats to achieve this result. The immediate effect will be to paralyze the House indefinitely because no other business can be taken up until a replacement is elected. Just when we are on the verge of completing the appropriations process that, in turn, will finally initiate discussions with the Senate that are vital to change the dangerous path that our country is on. I cannot conceive of a more counterproductive and self-destructive course than that. The supreme irony is that this is being initiated by self-described conservatives. Do they honestly believe that when the Democrats side with them to remove a Republican speaker, that they will then side with them to name a more conservative replacement? Of course not. The Democrats will certainly recruit the most liberal Republicans to establish a left-of-center coalition to run the House. This is exactly what happened in California in 1994. A coalition speaker will move the administration of the House sharply to the left and effectively end the Republican House majority that the people elected in 2022. I implore my Republican colleagues to look past their prejudices, their passions, their errors of opinion, their local interests, and their selfish views, and to make a wise decision when it's needed most at this critical moment in the life of our country.
I'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
Have you been waiting to buy gold as an investment? Lots of commercials out there, but who can you really trust? I didn't want to make a bad investment, but didn't want to miss the boat either. Sound familiar? Fortunately, I've got great news. If you have an IRA or 401k and want to buy physical gold to diversify your investment, eliminate fear and uncertainty from the process, get the new Gold IRA Company Integrity Checklist. It helps you evaluate and choose the best gold IRA company. To get your free IRA Company Integrity Checklist today, text Levin to 68592. That's Levin to 68592. Now, I trust Augusta Precious Metals and invested myself. Use this checklist to choose the best gold IRA company for yourself and see if you agree. To get your free Gold IRA Company Integrity Checklist today, text Levin to 68592. Again, text Levin to 68592. Text date and message rates may apply. Performance varies. Consult your financial professionals before making investment decisions and get risk disclosures at AugustaPreciousMetals.com. You know what's amazing, Mr. Producer? Even during those years, the Trump years, when the Republicans had some control of Congress, there was one show talking about the debt, wasn't there? One. I dare you to find another. And about how the Republicans were spending like drunken Marxists. One. This one. There's one conservative host who's written an entire book on it. One, me. I criticize the Republicans for it and the Democrats, who are much worse, but nonetheless, the Republicans have significantly added to it. Plunder and deceit is all about this. You and I, we discussed in America for months. Nobody else did. I don't remember Matt Gaetz having a hissy fit over spending. I might be missing something. If he did, he was awfully quiet about it. I don't remember him attacking the Trump administration. Not once. I don't remember him reaching out to the Marxists in the Democrat Party in the House and saying, we need to block these budgets. This uniparty stuff can't keep going on. Uniparty, you know. We need to shut down the government. Matt Gaetz never said any of that. Ever. Neither did the others. Or I would have remembered. Over and over again. I said, it's pretty lonely here. Nobody wants to talk about it. I know it's boring. There's a lot of stuff going on, but I'm going to keep sticking to it. And we hit it over and over again. Nobody else did. And very few people are going to talk like I did today. They're scared. They want upset. A tiny fraction of a fraction. Why? What do we have these microphones for, TV shows for, and all the rest of it? This is not a place for cowards and equivocators and quislings. Country first. Constitutional conservatism. That's what we call it. That's what we call it. And so I just bring this up to you, America, because we're consistent and we will remain consistent about this. And Matt Gaetz is not my prophet, not my hero, not my demigod. In fact, he's not anything to me. People like him because he knows how to speak, he knows how to debate, he knows how to blow things up politically. That's great. But that's not me. I'll be right back. This segment of the podcast is exclusively sponsored by Pure Talk. Pure Talk offers great coverage and can save your family money on your wireless bill every single month. Go to puretalk.com to find the plan that's right for you. Thank you again for listening, and thank you so much for this sponsorship, Pure Talk.
He's here. He's here. Now, broadcasting from the underground command post, deep in the bowels of a hidden bunker, somewhere under the brick and steel of a nondescript building, we've once again made contact with our leader, Mark Levin.
Hello, America. Mark Levin here. Our number, 877-381-3811, 877-381-3811. It's a pleasure being at KRLA, which has been an affiliate of this program for some time now in Los Angeles. It's the big dog there. They have a fantastic lineup of hosts. We had a fantastic time there, a Salem affiliate. And I want to thank everybody at KRLA. I want to thank everybody in the L.A. area. And I think I've had 1 hour sleep in the last 30 hours. My wife and I went there. I think we both have about a 1 hour sleep. It's all right. I'm still kind of on a, I don't know, adrenaline high, I guess you call it. What a fantastic time. And I'll tell you what's interesting. Almost everybody on that dais, Charlie Kirk and Dennis Prager and Tatum, boy, that guy, Officer Tatum, good guy, agreed on this budget issue. Almost everybody in the audience, too. That we want to make some headway. We want to get some stuff done here. And by done, I mean slashing while we can. We have a tiny majority in the House. We have so-called Senate leadership that's working with the Democrats. I mean, and we got to be strategic and smart about how we deal with all this stuff. We all agreed on that. I also want to thank you folks. The book is hanging strong. The Democrat Party Hates America. It's ironic I write a book like that, and then we have these guys who claim to be the biggest conservatives in America who are working with the very same Democrats. It's really pathetic, but I'm going to move on from that. Still, Barnes & Noble is playing games. I can tell you that because they have discounted the Musk book. They've discounted the Hutchison book. They have not discounted my book. So, not online anyway. But the good news is it's called Competition and Capitalism. Think what you will of Amazon, and most of you use it. I'll bet all of you use it. They have been terrific. So all the other retailers, Costco, Walmart, BJ's, Sam's, Books A Million, yes, even Target. I can't name them all. I can't remember them all. But as my wife and I were walking through LAX, and it was actually pretty empty. It was shocking. We didn't know what was going on. There were two bookstores. They're almost right across from each other. One's called Book Soup, which I like a lot. And then there's Hudson, which is everywhere. And it's amazing to see how these bookstores do this. When you're number one on the New York Times bestseller list, and I predict I will not be in week 2 because of these games that are going on. Really, they're just terrible. I mean, the biggest book retailer is Barnes & Noble. And they're screwing us. So, they're screwing us on price and availability. It's pathetic. That said, I go into this store, Book Soup, and they have one copy left. They're on the shelf. And it's a small operation, so that the shelf could fit 3 or 4 copies. I'm not there, measuring. I'm just saying. And there was one left. And they had it out there with the bestsellers. And that's the way you're supposed to do it. Then I go into Hudson, which seems to be selling more potato chips and pretzels these days and books. And I'm looking at the books. They have a much bigger book section, and it's not there. I didn't even waste my time asking. It's just not there. So they made a decision not to show the book. Now, we know they've ordered books, but the decision has been made not to show them. Now, LAX, if it's not the busiest, certainly one of the busiest airports in America. This is what happens to conservative authors. Look, I'm a big conservative author. I can handle this. But there are a lot of conservative authors who are not that big, or they're budding, or they're trying to get bigger, or they have a first book. They're getting killed. They're getting creamed. When bookstores become centers of censorship, it's a huge problem. It's a big problem. They call themselves bookstores. Now, if they just want to be liberal bookstores, they should say liberal book. I know what it is. It's the title of the book. Because it's so offensive. The Democrat Party hates them. We can't have that. Books with the word F on them and, Rush Limbaugh's of this side. Oh, yeah, that's great. And on, she's on and on and on, everywhere. Even in our elementary school libraries, look at these pictures, kids. You see this genitalia? If it's not yours, you may want it. And if this isn't yours, you may want to lose it, And they talk about book burnings and censorship. But look at this, the woke corporatists. And so I'm never going in there again. I'm just not. I'll be damned if I'm doing a book signing there again. But the good news, it's available. Almost everywhere. And I want to thank all those retailers and Amazon for making it available, for believing in the debates over ideas and competition over ideas and so forth. And the other thing that the New York Times does, I think I told, they put a cross next to my books every single time, and then you go to the bottom. What does that mean? They code and they explain it, bulk sales. They also did this to Thomas Sowell, by the way. He got a cross. Conservatives always get a cross. Liberals almost never get a cross. I'm looking at this and I'm the only cross up there, me and Thomas Sowell. I'm not bulk selling books. The Reagan Library acquires books. Everybody walks in, they purchase individual books. When we go to the Reagan Library, that's a bulk sale? No. So that's a fraud. Well, we're reporting that we got an order for 1,000 books bulk sale. Yeah, I'm going to the Reagan Library. But no one person's buying bulk books. You know who else isn't buying this and isn't interested in mystery? This will shock you. The RNC. I never deal with the RNC. Ever. Some conservative authors, some big names, they get the RNC to buy a bunch of books. I never, ever, 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 ever do that. I am more than happy to duke it out in the market. I really am. Because I know there's an army of you there who are very, very interested and concerned about these subjects. I don't need special privileges. I don't need anything. Now, if you go to Amazon, I'd like you to read some of the 5-star comments. You can tell that people actually read the book, and they're called verified comments. That is, verified participants. And you'll get a real sense, even before you buy it, a real sense for what it's about. And I think the vast majority of people who've acquired the book, I think they'll tell you it's a real value. We're 40% off on Amazon, and it's discounted everywhere else except Barnes & Noble online. And they've discounted everybody else. I mean, that just shows you, doesn't it? So I think it's a value. I really do. I think it's a value. I think there's an enormous amount of information and education in this book. And when I do these interviews with my affiliates, I'm very proud of those who are participating in this. And I want to thank them. I want to thank a number of national hosts, too, who've been very supportive. And some of my Fox colleagues, too. Not so much the news platforms. They don't really seem to get into this. You know, they'll do Pence's wife's book, I guess, and who else? I don't remember. It's okay. I don't care. It's not like I'm without a platform. I'm with a great platform. By the way, there's a lot to get into tonight. I want to get into this guy, Bowman. And there's now been a resolution that's filed by a wonderful representative, Nicole Malliotakis. Yeah, baby, I can pronounce it. But her mother's a big fan of mine, she once told me. So there you are. And this guy Bowman does need to be expelled. I understand one of the legal analysts said that that's nuts or something like that. I don't. What do you mean it's nuts? We got people sitting in Washington, D.C., roach and rat-infested jail. They didn't do anything. Maybe they wandered around the Capitol building looking around and then left. Some of them are in solitary confinement, and this bastard goes up and pulls the alarm for the specific purpose of trying to obstruct a vote on this continuing resolution. And the same exact laws that have been used against these citizens, they're not even members of Congress. He pulls the alarm. It's red. It says fire on the top. I don't know. I thought I had to do this to open the door. Oh, don't hand us that crap, Marxist. Besides, it doesn't matter. You did it. You did it. He obstructed an official proceeding of Congress. That's what he did. And we have a right to demand that something be done about this, both in Congress and by the Department of Injustice. So I'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
Now, you know what company's looking out for you when they actually upgrade your service and don't charge you for it? This is great news, and for new and current Pure Talk customers. Pure Talk just added data to every plan and is including a mobile hotspot with each one, with no price increase whatsoever. Now, if you've considered Pure Talk before but haven't pulled the trigger, take a look again. Just $20 a month for unlimited talk, text, and now 50% more 5G data, plus mobile hotspot. Just $20 a month, folks. This is why I love Pure Talk, that also happens to be veteran-owned and only hires the best customer service team right here in America. Most families are saving almost $1,000 a year while enjoying the most dependable 5G network in America. Dial pound 250 and say Mark Levin to make the switch to Pure Talk, and you'll save an additional 50% off your first month. Again, dial pound 250, say Mark Levin, and make the switch to my cell phone company, Pure Talk, today. Welcome back, America. For the first time, I think, on the program, Staten Island's own Representative Nicole Malliotakis. How are you, ma'am?
Hi, how are you? Good to be with you.
Well, I'm better now that I understand that you're taking official action or trying to against this Jamaal Bowman. I just want to remind America, we have people sitting in the D.C. jail today who never pulled a fire alarm to stop anything. Some of them were waved into the Capitol building. I'm not talking about violent people. I'm talking about people who were roaming around the Capitol for 20 seconds and left the building and got caught up in that. The books being thrown at them. And here you have a member of Congress who pulls a fire alarm, pretends he doesn't know what a fire alarm is, specifically obstructing an official proceeding of Congress. And that was his intention. And the Democrats are defending him. Let me ask you something. What are the Republicans going to do in the House?
Well, look, I talk to members each and every day that want to make sure that he's held accountable, and that means either a censorship or expulsion. I've introduced a resolution today with some co-sponsors to expel him. And look, the timeline just doesn't make sense. And, of course, the police are still investigating, but we know what we know, right? It was caught on video. It was caught and confirmed by Capitol Police on video, and there's photographs. And his timeline that he presents simply just does not make sense. When you read the time, so look at this. 11:59 was when the motion to adjourn by Catherine Clark, who's the leader there, took place. After that, it was 12:05, just 6 minutes later, when we saw the Jamaal Bowman pull the fire alarm. He says that he was in a rush to vote. However, he actually didn't go and vote until nearly an hour later. So that just shows you he wasn't rushing to go anywhere. So I believe he was specifically there to disrupt the proceedings. He created panic. And this is a person who was a school principal. He knows the old fire alarm trick more than anybody. And the fact that he thought it was appropriate to pull this fire alarm to disrupt the proceedings has to be punished. And so we've introduced this resolution to expel him today, and we will see when we'll be able to get a vote.
I want you to ignore the TV lawyers, some of whom are more political than legal, and who say this is a wrong move or this is preposterous. I don't even understand that. If a kid in a high school does that, I mean, they can be charged criminally in some states, in some counties, in some townships and so forth, because it's a serious thing when you're pulling a fire alarm and people are rushed out and people are wondering if there's a fire and people can get hurt. And do we really need to explain this and debate this to realize that what this man did was attempting to obstruct an official proceeding of Congress? There's nothing to debate, really, is there?
Well, actually, it is a violation punishable up to 6 months in prison, according to Washington, D.C. code. But it's a felony for disrupting the congressional proceedings. And so that's what elevates it. So I do believe that he will be charged with a crime at some point, and we'll see how this plays out. But you're absolutely right. You can't ignore it. You can't turn a blind eye. This sets a terrible example for our young people. And in addition to that, like I said, he was a high school principal, and in his school, it would be either suspension or expulsion. And that's why I felt expulsion was what was warranted here, because this is the United States Congress. It is not a New York City public high school.
I'd like you to listen to AOC, is what I call her, AOC on CNN yesterday with Jake Tapper. Cut 14, Mr. Producer. Go.
There was an interesting moment over the weekend when your New York colleague, Congressman Jamaal Bowman, and he's under investigation for this now after Capitol Police say he pulled a fire alarm in one of the House office buildings. Democrats were trying to delay a final vote on the bill. There he is pulling the fire alarm. He says it was an accident. He thought pulling the alarm would open a door based on the fact that the doors to his right there were locked, and there was a sign that he said I think someone said it was confusing. I'll be honest, it doesn't really make sense to me, his explanation. Have you talked to him? What's going on there?
I mean, listen, I think if you actually do see some of the photos of the signs, I think there's something to be said about the government's about to shut down. There's a vote clock that's going down. The exits that are normally open in that building were suddenly closed.
So you pulled the fire alarm?
So what I am here to say is that House administration...
You know what? I don't care what you're here to say because you're a little propagandist. So we don't really care here what you have to say. I'm just using as a foil as one of these Democrat morons. Now, is there any question, Congresswoman, that the fire alarm itself said fire and was red? And when you're like 4 years old, you see these all over the place and you're told don't pull that unless there's a fire? Forget about what's on the door, for crying out loud. He pulled the fire alarm. He didn't pull the door. He pulled the fire alarm, right?
That's exactly right. And so you might be able to give him the benefit of the doubt if he had pushed the door open and the alarm went off. But that's not what he did. And the timeline, as I said, I mean, if he was rushing to vote, he pulled the alarm at 12:05 and did not vote until 1:04. That doesn't sound like somebody who is rushing. Not to mention that there are so many different ways to get to the Capitol, right? We have a tunnel that connects Cannon to the Capitol building where you don't even need to go through any doors. And so, you know, it just makes absolutely no sense. And that's why I think the facts eventually will catch up to him. And I think that we will get some type of response here that I think is appropriate.
How many other members of Congress were so confused that they started pulling fire alarms?
You know what?
None.
You know, there's an interesting group here.
Yes. He's the one guy. Everybody else knows how to go and vote. They vote all the time. They go from this place. I was confused by the sign on the door, so I pulled the fire alarm. Boy, Marxists are stupid people, aren't they, Congresswoman? Now, let me ask you this. Well, wait till you come back. So do you wait? The big question is for when you come back, is there a referral that has to be made from the House to the Department of Justice, the U.S. Attorney's Office, or is this in the hands of the Capitol Police? Just the process, I don't know. We'll be right back. Now, you know a company's looking out for you when they actually upgrade your service and don't charge you for it? This is great news, and for new and current Pure Talk customers. Pure Talk just added data to every plan and is including a mobile hotspot with each one, with no price increase whatsoever. Now, if you've considered Pure Talk before but haven't pulled the trigger, take a look again. Just $20 a month for unlimited talk text and now 50% more 5G data plus mobile hotspot. Just $20 a month, folks. This is why I love Pure Talk. That also happens to be veteran-owned and only hires the best customer service team right here in America. Most families are saving almost $1,000 a year while enjoying the most dependable 5G network in America. Dial pound 250 and say Mark Levin to make the switch to Pure Talk, and you'll save an additional 50% off your first month. Again, dial pound 250, say Mark Levin, and make the switch to my cell phone company, Pure Talk, today.
Mark Levin, the thunder on the right. Call in now, 877-381-3811.
We're discussing the obstruction of official proceeding by Jamaal Bowman, my term, Marxist New York. And we're here with Representative Nicole Malliotakis. And Congresswoman, let me ask you a question before I get to this very troubling thing that his office put out here. So, if you accidentally pull an alarm, which is absurd on its face, don't you stand there, excuse me, or maybe call the Capitol Police or look concerned, or do you just walk away? What did he do?
Yeah, so what we know is that he did not notify the Capitol Police immediately to explain what had occurred, and that's certainly what I would have done if I had accidentally done something of that magnitude. So everything he has said is just not made sense. And I think that, again, the most important thing that I see is a timeline in which it was an hour between he pulled the alarm and he went to vote, and he said he was rushing to vote. Mm-hmm. So it makes absolutely no sense.
Now, if there's a federal... yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say, now, these federal judges in Washington, you know, they don't give an inch to these January 6 people who are parading and and trespassing. Again, we're distinguishing them from people who, were attacking the cops. And they wouldn't buy this for 2 seconds if it was a Trump supporter. But let me ask you this also. I'm reading here a talking points that were put out by Bowman's office to his fellow Democrat. And we're hearing these talking points now, but here's a line that I want the American people to hear. Here's this reprobate. He pulls a fire alarm to stop the voting in the House of Representatives. Comes up with all these cockamamie excuses. He doesn't wait there to tell the cops, because they can figure out where that alarm's coming from. It's all computerized. And say, I did it, it was an act. He walks away. And among the talking points he puts out, or his office does, is, I believe Congressman Bowman when he says this was an accident. Next sentence. Republicans need to instead focus their energy on the Nazi members of their party before anything else. Did he really put that out?
His office put that out, and it was shocking. And it's so disturbing because this is not the first time you've heard the socialist squad use these terms lightly. Remember when Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez went to the southern border and referred the individuals in the southern border to be in concentration camps? Mm-hmm. And now we have Jamaal Bowman saying we should be pivoting to Republican members, Nazis. I mean, really, that is such an insult. What an insult to the people who lost people who were murdered in the Holocaust. It really diminishes the term when you throw it around like that as if it has no meaning. And so he got a lot of heat for that, and then he had to go on Twitter and say that it was done without his approval from his staff. Well, you know what, maybe he should bring his staff to the Yad Vashem Memorial in Israel so they could learn about the Holocaust. I mean, they should pick up a history book to learn about the Holocaust and the atrocities before they start referring to other members of another party as Nazis.
And this was provided to Politico, and you're right. He came under withering attack for this, and then he says, I just became aware that in our messaging guide, why do you need messaging guidance? You pulled the damn alarm. Why don't you apologize, say, whatever. But there was inappropriate use of the term Nazi without my consent. That's a weird way to put it, don't you think? What, we need his consent? I condemn the use of the term Nazi out of its precise definition. It is important to specify the term Nazi to refer to members of the Nazi Party and neo-Nazis. This guy doesn't care. He'll get reelected 5,000 times, won't he?
Well, it's interesting because there's rumor that George Latimer, who is the Westchester County executive, who's certainly more moderate in comparison to the socialist member, may be waging a primary against him. So it's yet to be seen what will happen. And remember, he's kind of been out there prancing around as trying to challenge Mayor Adams, trying to move everyone in the city to the left, along with Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. And shamefully, they've been successful in many ways. The Democrats have become so scared of their own shadow that they just seem to go more and more to the left for survival. And that's always what's bothered me about this particular group of Democrats in New York City, is they care more about self-preservation than actually standing up against these socialist members whose policies have just been so disruptive. But they are the party of lawlessness, right? We've said that over and over again, whether it be the open borders, the massive illegal immigration, whether it be the bail reform that releases criminals back onto the streets over and over in New York, or whether it be just the constant push to release people from jail. It seems that they are the party of lawlessness. So let's see what happens here if the law finally catches up to them.
And a reporter caught up with Jamaal Bowman, and here's what he said. Cut 12, go.
Do you still stand by your statement that pulling the fire alarm was an accident? I don't know why this has gotten so much attention. I was literally just in a rush to go vote, man. That's all it was.
Are you afraid of any repercussions, either from leadership or from legally from Capitol Police?
I mean, listen, I take responsibility for what I did, but like I said, I was in a rush to go vote, and, the investigation will sort everything else out.
Have you talked to Jeffries about it?
Oh, yeah, of course, since day one, yes.
How was that conversation?
Well, I got to keep that between me and the leader, so I'm not going to share that publicly. Yeah, but we've been in touch with each other.
Mm-hmm. Has Jeffries condemned this?
He has not. He said he's waiting to see the video, which may very well not be released. But
well, there's enough that has been released, unless you're Helen Keller. It's right there. Exactly. You can see with your own two eyes.
No, you're absolutely right. That's why I say there's been enough to be released, but he says until he sees the video, he may not comment on it. But again, he said it there again. You see how he says, I was in a rush to go vote, yet between the action of pulling the alarm and actually voting, it was an hour.
Are you amazed on a related but partially separate subject how the Democrats hold their ranks and how the Republicans don't?
Yes. Look, I think, look, I'm a Republican from New York City, so I've lived under one-party rule at the city, state, and federal level for the last few years, and it's been miserable. I think people are starting to wake up. You saw Lee Zeldin almost beat Kathy Hochul. That was refreshing, but it was because of all those people who fled to New York.
By the way, if that election were today, he'd win.
I agree with you. Because this migrant crisis that we're facing right now at the hands of the Democrats' policies is what would put it over the top. So it is frustrating for me to see that people will still vote for these individuals who have made their lives miserable at every turn. And, if you're listening in New York City, you know what I'm talking about, right? It's just the perpetual crime. It's the quality of life issues that have deteriorated. It's the high property taxes, the cost of living. They want congestion pricing now. They want to charge you $23 to drive into Manhattan. All these things. It's like all they do is make you miserable. So why do you keep voting for these people? But on the federal level, it's interesting to see because the Democrats always stick together. And sadly, you alluded to this. I follow you on Twitter. I mean, the way that we have certain members who are always looking to undermine the Republican leadership, our speaker, and the conference. I mean, the other day was a perfect example. We had the opportunity to pass a conservative stopgap that reduced wasteful spending. It was almost a 25% across-the-board cut of non-defense discretionary funding. And on top of it, our Border Security Act, which is the number one priority of our conference to reinstate the policies of President Trump. And we had Matt Gaetz and a couple of members just undermine us and vote with the Socialist Squad and the Democrats to kill it. So, I mean, unfortunately, we see that the Republicans don't stick together like the Democrats do, which is why they're sometimes winning messaging.
Well, he just filed his, whatever the hell they filed, to remove the Speaker of the House. So this will be the big motion to vacate. So this will be the news 24/7, blaring all over the place, rather than the border, rather than the impeachable offenses of Biden, rather than anything. And I don't know. I'm very concerned we're going to lose the House if this stuff keeps up. I'll be honest with you.
Well, I do share that concern. I feel that we have a lot of great policy ideas, but if we're undermining each other and trying to, fight with each other as opposed to fighting with the Democrats, fighting with the Senate, right now our entire battle should be fighting with the Senate in this appropriations process to ensure that we get border security, that we shut down Biden's open borders. That should be our main objective. We can do that, coupling it with cutting wasteful spending and the other things that all the members want. But why are we pivoting now to Speaker McCarthy and making it seem like he's not doing a good job? I mean, this is a guy who implemented good government reforms that we were all asking for. There's no more 2,000-page bills that spend trillions of dollars. We have single-subject bills. We have time to review them, 3 days minimum. He has really implemented all the reforms we wanted because we didn't like the way Nancy Pelosi ran the place. He helped us avert a default, a shutdown. He helped us save the taxpayers trillions in the process. And I trust Speaker McCarthy to be the one to negotiate, the best person to negotiate on behalf of our conference going into this appropriations. But what the little group did was they actually took away his leverage to negotiate, right? By undermining our legislation to secure the border and to cut wasteful spending. And so we go in here now without necessary leverage.
You have nothing.
And we're already it's already 2-1, right? They got the White House, they got the Senate. We're already at a disadvantage. So if Republicans don't stick together, I am concerned what the outcome will be, because we're trying very hard to deliver for the American people. But if we have people within our own party that are working with the socialist squad to shoot down our bills, that's a problem.
Yeah, I'm laughing at what he says here. He says in part that Kevin McCarthy won't be the Speaker of the House, or he'll be the Speaker of the House working at the pleasure of the Democrats. This guy's working with the Progressive Caucus, the Marxists in the Democrat Party. He's counting on them. It's being reported everywhere. I mean, and then you have Rosendale saying in this site, The Messenger, that he's glad that the Republicans didn't have a strong victory in the midterm, because that way 6 or 7 people can really control what's going on. Are you guys nuts? I mean, do you understand who Benedict Arnold was? And by the way, I'm a conservative. I have supported government shutdowns my entire life, even when I worked in the Reagan administration. This isn't about conservatism. This isn't even about cutting anything. What they did now is all those proposed cuts that were coming, that were negotiated by members of in many cases, the Freedom Caucus, and securing the border, they're off the table now. And you're right. The Republicans in the House have no leverage against the McConnell-led Republicans in the Senate. It's just off the table. And everybody keeps saying, yeah, well, we're shut. It's irrational. Anyway, I want to thank you.
One thing I'll just say the one thing that can save us right now is if the Senate Republicans stick with the House Republicans, we pass the remaining 8 appropriation bills. There's 12 total, and we dump them on the Senate. So far, if the Senate Republicans have to help Schumer pass any appropriations bills on their side. So if they don't, in December, they really took away a lot of our leverage when they joined him with that fiscal package at the end of the year. We hope that the Senate Republicans won't help Schumer pass their appropriation bills, but instead wait for the House to do ours. We send them over to Schumer, and then that's when we have the leverage to negotiate something, I think, that could be very good for the American people, that will reduce inflationary spending, will hold the line, cut excessive wastefulness, and making sure that we do secure our border. But you got to make sure that the Senate Republicans stick with us, and that Matt Gaetz and these guys get on board. Let's do the appropriation bills individually, as they said they want. That's what they said they want, and we all want to do it that way. So let's stick together and move forward. Let's have this fight with the Senate Democrats, not each other.
All right. Thank you, Congresswoman. Take care of yourself and keep hammering away at that Bowman.
Thank you very much. Great to be with you tonight.
You too. God bless. She's really tough on this fire alarm thing, and that's very, very important. We demonstrate you're going to obstruct an official proceeding with Congress. I don't mean wandering around looking around the building. I mean pulling a damn fire alarm. And you're a member of Congress, you should be in jail. You should.
Mark Levin.
Now, you know what company's looking out for you when they actually upgrade your service and don't charge you for it? This is great news, and for new and current Pure Talk customers. Pure Talk just added data to every plan and is including a mobile hotspot with each one, with no price increase whatsoever. Now, if you've considered Pure Talk before but haven't pulled the trigger, take a look again. Just $20 a month for unlimited talk, text, and now 50% more 5G data, plus mobile hotspot. Just $20 a month, folks. This is why I love Pure Talk, that also happens to be veteran-owned and only hires the best customer service team right here in America. Most families are saving almost $1,000 a year while enjoying the most dependable 5G network in America. Dial pound 250 and say Mark Levin to make the switch to Pure Talk, and you'll save an additional 50% off your first month. Again, dial pound 250, say Mark Levin, and make the switch to my cell phone company, Pure Talk, today. Next hour, I want to spend some serious substantive time on this really bizarre judge in the case in Manhattan going after Donald Trump's company. Letitia James, What a jackass. And this whole issue of assessing the value of property from Albany, New York, all the way down to Mar-a-Lago. And the real fraud, of course, is Letitia James and the government of New York, as well as the Attorney General's office. And we'll get into that in some detail. By the way, I see that oil head, that would be Gavin Newsom. I'll say it again. Why do conservative media and conservative politicians, maybe it's Republican politicians, keep promoting Gavin Newsom? He wants to run. Let Biden run. The guy's numbers are in the toilet. And this guy, as I say, my wife and I are in California. We go from time. California's dying. It's done. The people are suffering. And this guy's a fraud. Absolute fraud. Big third hour. I'll see you in a moment.
He's here. Now, broadcasting from the underground command post, deep in the bowels of a hidden bunker, somewhere under the brick and steel of a nondescript building, we've once again made contact with our leader, Mark Levin.
LaFonza Butler will be a new senator. Well, apparently he's going to represent Maryland and California because it appears that her residence is in Maryland based on her contributions and so forth. But that's perfect because Gavin Newsom doesn't really care. She's a minority. She's LGBTQ. And can we call her a woman, or is that in politic right now? Appears to be a woman. So the people of California, apparently that's all they care about, right? That's all they care about? She hits all the boxes. What always amazes me is when these white straight guys make these kinds of appointments and they want to be patted on the back. You know, Gavin Newsom ran as physically, I believe he's a man. I don't think he transitioned, and of course he's white. But they're out there making their cred. You know, I'm appointing an LGBTQ black woman. Why not a white man? Because, you know, that's enough of that, all right. No, but you're a white man. So why should we vote for you for president if you run one day? All right, whatever. So let's take a look at what's going on now in this phony fraud trial. You see this judge today? He's a pathetic miscreant. Cameras on him. He's having a grand old time. He's never seen anything like this. This is big time for these people. You know, when Trump walks in a room, all these people are nothings. And then all of a sudden, here's the judge. He's a judge. Oh, wow. This is an elected Democrat hack judge. Happens all the time in this country. And he smiles at the camera, then he shrugs. He's having a grand... And there's... Letitia James. Do you think Letitia knows LaFonza, Mr. Producer? Do you think Letitia and LaFonza know LeBron? I don't know. Anyway, so there we are. Now, you and I both know that assessing properties is not a science. How do I know we all know this? Because anybody who owns property, you get this assessment from the county typically, or whatever you get it from, wherever you live. And you go, wait a minute, the hell is that? And you have the right to appeal. And sometimes you find out that they really didn't compare similar properties, or that the other guy's property has a swimming pool and yours does not, or 100 other things. And when you're dealing with the very expensive properties, it's even more complicated. But here's the deal. If you're a big-time developer, you're using big-time banks. The big-time banks have big-time law firms, and you as the big-time developer, you have big-time law firms. Nobody's holding a gun to anybody's head. Now, I don't know about you folks, but if I were to get, let me just say that if you refinance your loan, Mr. Producer, you know all the paperwork and everything you have to go through? You've not been through it. I've been through it, correct? They want to know all kinds of information. And not only that, they have every right to conduct their own assessment to determine the value of the property. And there can be big disputes between the value of the property. But in this case with Donald Trump, there were no disputes. There was no late payoffs. There were no complaints brought to any level of government. And that was that. Until, of course, he ran for president. And so they treat him like John Gotti. They're looking for stuff on him, and they find nothing. There's nothing in his tax returns. Nothing. Remember that? That they could hang a hat on. Nothing. There's nothing in the valuation of these properties that commits fraud. And how do you commit fraud when you don't defraud anybody, Mr. Producer? Is that the law in New York? You can commit fraud without defrauding? Sounds like a constitutional challenge to me, but that's a whole other story. Now, I happen to know as a matter of fact, and I encouraged you folks the other day, and I encourage you again, go online, use whatever real estate link you prefer, and look up all the properties in the Palm Beaches, as we say, that are valued at $150 million, $75 million, $200 million. And then I want you to realize that Mar-a-Lago is by far the most valuable and expensive property on that entire east coast of Florida. Not even close. It's 20 acres on the Atlantic Ocean. And Mar-a-Lago is a thing of beauty. It's almost museum-like. $18 million is the assessed value. You see, that's the giveaway. That's the giveaway. $18 million is the assessed value. So Donald Trump is in there trying to protect his business now. The right to build buildings in New York, which is really the business of the family, Eric in particular, who oversees much of it, I believe. And they're taking his ability to build buildings in New York away from him. Now, Trump's lawyers argued, among other things today, wait a minute, most of this, there was a violation of the statute of limitations. Talking about properties from 2011 and so forth, and apparently the statute of limitations is around the 2014. So Letitia James brings civil charges against the former president of the United States, who's running for president again of the United States, where the statute of limitations has run on what President Trump said is 80% of the properties? She's not only a radical, she is dumb, and so are her people, but it doesn't matter. They can be sloppy. It's a Democrat hellhole. So just think about these things that are going on with Trump. And then I have to read something from, I think it's Andy McCarthy or something, so I cut it off after 2 sentences. All the problems Trump has with the documents case. The problem Trump has with the documents case is it should never have been brought. And if it were any other attorney general, it never would have been brought. Period. They would have used the civil avenues, and they would have held the former president in contempt if he didn't comply with a judge's order, that sort of thing. There would be no search warrant and SWAT team and the criminalization of all this. I don't care what you hear from Bill Barr. Bill Barr has become a clown. A clown. But the other legal analysts are wrong too. Look, I live this. You can have an attorney general who's prudential, or you can have an attorney general who's partisan, pathetic, or stupid. And of course, in the case of my attorney general, who was brilliant, Ed Meese, he would never have done this. ever. He would never have sought a search warrant and then a humiliating SWAT team that would have gone into a former First Lady's underwear drawers or anything of the sort. And so you have these legal analysts who have their own agenda, these former employees who are now disgruntled. They're out trying to make a mark for themselves and distance themselves from their own shortcomings in the past. And rather than say, step back and say, wait a minute, this shouldn't be happening at all. Don't screw around with the government. Don't screw around with the government, I tell you. Bill Barr. And by the way, what the hell happened to all these all-you-can-eat buffets? They don't even exist anymore. My God, I used to love those. Particularly the fried chicken and the applesauce. I'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
Mr. Producer, how come these people said bye who aren't going to go on my social media sites anymore? How come they're not unfollowing? You're the one who told me they're not unfollowing us, right? Well, then they should. Why don't they? Like, I give a damn. Why don't they? Listen, don't you say anything bad about our man Matt Gaetz. What's he done? I don't know, but he's the only one doing anything. That's all I know. Really? Yes, he's it. He's our fighter. He and the other four. They're fantastic. Trump at the New York City courthouse before this phony trial begins. Cut one, go.
This is a continuation of the single greatest witch hunt of all time. We have a rogue judge who rules that properties are worth a tiny fraction, 1/100th, a tiny fraction of what they actually are. We have a racist attorney general who's a horror show who ran on the basis that she was going to get Trump before she even knew
By the way,
anything.
is there anything false about what he's saying? It's all 100% accurate. Go ahead.
She used this to run for governor. She failed in her attempt to run for governor. She had virtually no polling. She came back and she said, well, now I'll go back to get Trump again. And this is what we have. It's a scam. It's a sham. Just so you know, my financial statements are phenomenal. They are actually less in terms of the numbers used than the actual net worth. The actual net worth is substantially more. No bank was affected. No bank was hurt. They don't even know why they have to be involved. And they've so testified. They can't believe that they're involved because they were paid back on time. There were no defaults. There were no problems.
So here's my challenge. Let's leave it right there for the moment. Why would a state go after a man where the banks have not accused him of fraud and didn't file a single complaint? How do you defraud somebody who says they're not defrauded? Fraud is a word that has meaning. But just listen to the illogic of what they're doing here. He didn't defraud anybody. So why this civil case on fraud? Go ahead.
It was like a perfect client. In the meantime, people are being murdered all over the sidewalks of New York. There was no victim here. The banks were represented by the best, biggest, most prestigious law firms in the state of New York, actually in the country. Some of the biggest and best law firms, in all cases, the biggest and best law firms. That's who represented them. The banks got back their money. Again, there was never a default.
Mm-hmm. Cut two, go.
The crime is against me because we have a corrupt district attorney, but we have a corrupt attorney general. And it all comes down from the DOJ. They're totally coordinated. This in Washington because I'm the leading candidate. I'm leading Biden by 10 points. And I'm leading the Republicans by 50 and 60 points. That's pretty much, they say, over. I never accept that, but they say it's over. This has to do with election interference, plain and simple. They're trying to damage me so that I don't do as well as I'm doing in the election. Our country's gone to hell. We have a country that's in decline, serious decline. We have a man running our country who has no clue, doesn't know what he's doing, and you know it better than anybody because you have to cover him. What they've done with open borders, what they've done with interest rates and taxes, it's a disgrace. So what we have here is an attempt to hurt me in an election. It's an attempt to hurt me in an election. This never happened before, where President of the United States leaves office and gets indicted. And the reason I got indicted was that I ran. If I didn't run, I'd be sitting right now at a beach like Biden does every time, even though he's supposed to be working. So very simply put, it's a witch hunt. It's a disgrace.
It's so true. It is so disgusting. Here's Letitia, or as her friends call her, Tisha James, also before the trial. Cut 3, go.
Donald Trump and the other defendants have committed persistent and repeated fraud.
Well, let's stop right there. Persistent and repeated frauds. Name one. Well, the undervalued properties. Well, no, that's in dispute. Or was until they got this hack Democrat elected judge. But the question is, he defrauded who? I heard somebody say that under New York law, you don't actually have to defraud anybody to be charged with fraud. Did you hear that, Mr. Producer? Well, I'm sure that'll stand up with a constitutional challenge, I imagine. But that really is nuts. Absolutely nuts. Go ahead.
Prove that in our motion for summary judgment. Today, we will prove our other claims. My message is simple. No matter how powerful you are...
Shut up, you idiot. You're a simpleton. That's different than a simple message. You should have been disbarred a long time ago. You don't run for office as Attorney General telling people who you're going to hunt down and target. Apparently in New York. No wonder people are getting the hell out of there as fast as they can. I'm just being honest with you. I mean, why would you stay there if you're a successful person and they hate you and they're milking you for everything they can? What do you get for it? Bloated, fat bureaucrats, radical leftist mayors and city councils, and they destroy your communities. They destroy your schools. Oh, we're a sanctuary. People come in. Oh, we didn't really mean it. Let's shove people out to the suburbs and destroy those too. It's just awful. And I don't know why people stay. I don't blame people for leaving. They're doing the same in California. Oh, yes, that Gavin Newsom, he how come he's not running for president? There's Republicans talking. I bet he's running. I bet, hey, you know, he'd be a very attractive candidate, I think. Are you out of your minds? Nothing attractive about this guy, unless you're blind. He's got weird features, don't you think, Mr. Producer? He's got that Adam Schiff neck. He does. He's got that really long neck. Look, people make fun of me all the time. That's okay. You know, I've already said I'm chairman of FU, Fatties United. But he's just... And you notice how when Trump, it's always, oh, he had an affair with this woman. This guy had an affair with the wife of his chief of staff when he was mayor of San Francisco. He's a complete sleaze. It's like Kamala Harris. She had an affair with Willie, who'd been the Speaker of the House, and he was still married. I guess, am I allowed to talk about that? No, I don't think so. Who's LaFonza Butler? I'll be right back.
Nobody says it better than Mark Levin.
I'll go with what Mark Levin said, because nobody could say it better.
Call in now at 877-381-3811.
Oh, Mr. President, what about a neocon? Oh, my God. And a rhino. Yes. It's funny. By the way, I have a whole section in the book on the attack on citizenship, which includes, of course, substantially this illegal invasion issue, but it's more than that. And I had to look really hard, but I finally found some information on the crimes that illegal aliens are committing against Americans and others in this country. And you'll be shocked. Well, you won't be shocked, but it's significant. And that's only the illegal aliens who get caught committing horrific crimes. I hope you liked Life, Liberty, and Levin on Saturday night and on Sunday night. I'll keep doing it as long as you're interested. And you seem to be very interested, and I really appreciate that. What do you say? Let's take a couple of calls here. I think we should. Jeff, Long Island, New York. How are you, Jeff? Go right ahead, please.
Hey, how you doing, Mark?
Very well, thank
Thank you for everything you do. Thank you. You do the hard work for us, and we get to, reap your benefits. But I just wanted to say that I was at Bookends with my wife, and we got to sing the national anthem. And Ridgewood,
you
New
were
Jersey.
there with us.
Yep, I was the third
you.
in line. I gave you the police.
I remember you now. Yes. That's a great store too. Bookends. Go right ahead.
Yeah, so I actually live one town over from. We used to do a book signing over here at in Huntington.
Yeah, well, the bookstore closed.
Yeah. Oh, I can't remember the name of it. It's on the tip of my tongue.
Book Review.
That's it. The Book Review. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they closed down. But
it's too bad. The pandemic knocked them out. That was a huge bookstore.
Yeah.
All right, my brother. Jeff, don't hang up. You earned another signed copy, and so don't hang up. And it was a pleasure meeting you all. It really was. Great guy. Oh, wait a minute. Is he still there? You said you gave a book to a lib neighbor. Did the lib neighbor have anything to say to you?
I haven't heard from her yet. I'm waiting for her to put up a Trump flag.
All right, so you'll be there a while. All right, Jeff, thank you, my friend. Take care of yourself. Let's go to Sean, Syracuse, New York, where my parents went to college. That's right. Sirius Satellite, go.
Yeah. Sirius, you and Wilkow are the reasons why I pay for Sirius Radio, Mr.
Thank
Levin.
you very, very much. Wilkow's a good man.
Oh, he is, yeah. And, I talked to my sons about a lot, like the last caller said, you do the hard work for us. And I talked to my sons, they're 15 and 17, about, things that I hear from you and Wilkow and David Webb. And my 17-year-old is going to be old enough to vote in the next presidential election. Mm-hmm. And he's been saying since before the last election, since he was 15, that he can't wait to vote for Donald Trump.
Wow.
So,
well, if he were a Democrat, he could go ahead and vote for Biden, regardless of his age. You're aware of that.
Sure. Oh, yeah.
All right,
anyway,
my brother.
I called earlier.
Yes, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I called earlier because you were talking about Matt Gaetz, and he's a huge disappointment, and
Sir, are you a rhino?
Who? Me?
You a rhino and a neocon? This is what we're hearing.
Matt Gaetz? Oh, yeah.
This is what we're hearing. If you don't support Matt Gaetz and his suicide mission, then there's something wrong with you. Don't you understand?
Well, there may be something wrong with me. I don't know. 5 years in the Army, there might be. So,
all right, brother. Listen, we're going to keep rolling. Take care of yourself. Don't hang up. Let's get that gentleman a signed book. Abraham, Baltimore, Maryland, on the Mark Levin app. Abraham, how are you, my friend?
Hello, Mr. Levin. How are you?
I'm very well. How are you?
I'm doing great. I've been listening to you since I was 13, and I'm a few weeks away from my 22nd birthday now. I've read all your books. I'm in the middle of the latest and the greatest. I mean, I think the way you wrote this one is really a combination of your previous ones with, has the, straightforward of liberty and tyranny and American Marxism, so like the tenacity and brutality of like Ameritopia and Rediscovering Americanism. I actually have 2 copies because I bought one on Amazon, then you announced the premiere, so I was like, I need a signed one, so I bought that one too.
Well, now you're going to have 3 because I'm going to send you a signed one as well.
Oh, wow. That's
so don't
amazing.
hang up.
Oh,
Yeah, go ahead.
One other thing. Yeah, the other thing I could say is, if you could have like a merch shop with like T-shirts. I really want a Chuck Schumer T-shirt that says "The Davening Dummy" on it. That would be really funny.
Well, I don't know. We'll have to see. I mean, I don't normally. Well, we'll see. I see there's a lot of knockoffs out there. A lot of people making a lot of money off my face and my name. But there's something about having T-shirts with my face on it, Mr. Producer. I don't know about that. We'll see. That's true. I'm not wearing it. Other people be wearing it. Actually, I'm wearing it. It's right on my head. Anyway, Abraham, you're a great guy. Don't hang up, okay? We'll send you a signed copy as well. Let's try one more for now. Mo, Northern Michigan on the Mark Levin app. Mo was my grandfather. His actual name was Maurice, which he hated. And he was the toughest man I ever met. He was a Marine. I've talked about him before, and he fought the Japanese, and he called himself Mo. Mo in Northern Michigan. How are you, my friend?
The first motion has to do with the fact that they're impeaching Biden, and that's not going to get him out of office. He and Kamala Harris both need to be indicted for the crimes of violating their oaths of office.
Well, that's fine, but Congress can't indict anybody.
No, but what I'm saying is you can have members of Congress acting as individuals bring forth a motion to indict.
You're not listening to me. Individuals don't have the power to bring motions to indict people. Can you name one?
I'm sorry, what?
Thank you for your call. Look, I can't do basic second grade, stuff here, folks. Most of the people here understand that individuals cannot indict people. You understand that, don't you, Mr. Producer? And that's not what he was going to talk about anyway. But individuals cannot indict people. Congress can't indict people. Only the executive branch and the federal level can bring or have grand juries paneled and bring indictments. An individual can't bring an indictment. Not everybody knows that, or almost everyone apparently. I don't mean to be rude, but I just don't have time to go through that whole history and then told I'm wrong and, whatever. It just doesn't make any sense. Merrick Garland was on 60 Minutes. I thought 60 Minutes was over. They have this guy, Scott Pelley and Leslie Stahl, long in the tooth nitwits. And Merrick Garland wants you to know that everything is cool over there at the Department of Justice. No favoritism whatsoever. Not now, not ever. Cut 16, go.
We do not have one rule for Republicans and another rule for Democrats. We don't have one rule for foes and another for friends. We don't have one rule for the powerful and another for the powerless, for the rich or for the poor, based on ethnicity. We have only one rule. And that one rule is that we follow the facts and the law.
Get our mumblers ready after this guy here, Mr. Boozer. Go ahead.
Protect civil liberties.
Are you essentially saying, as Attorney General to the American people, trust me?
Now, Scott Pelley, he's a real sharp dude there. Let me see if I understand this. And they all talk like Dan Rather with the jaw kind of locked. The bottom row of teeth don't move, and they just kind of... Are you essentially saying, as Attorney General of the American people, trust me? Yes, he is, you nitwit, which is hilarious. Why would we trust him? He's the worst Attorney General in my lifetime. Go ahead, please.
I suppose it does, in the end, come down to trust, but it's not just me. It's decades.
All right, shut up, dummy. Dummy, shut up. In fact, he sounds a lot like this. Go.
What are they kind of gratifying? The ghost track?
They have an eye. It costs when if you they just gave you gave them
with the bringing U.S. home troops from home.
And the.
You need somebody.
Wait. So what? Finally. What?
Budget. But resist we must, and we will much about that be committed.
I'm a warrior.
That it was. Did
I mean, they said that.
Look, was it him?
Why? I didn't. If we,
we can walk and chew gum.
We hold these truths to be self-evident. All men and women created by you know the thing. True international effort to pressure.
Been impeached for inciting the insurrection.
Donald John Trump incited the insurrection.
And what am I doing here? I'm going to lose track here. And
to confidence in the integrity.
Private economic. No! Don't let them. You know how much I'm going to do with the deficit this year? Bridges and those bullets that are collapsing.
And it is.
Happy birthday, dear Levin.
Part of I introduce some of you to some of the leadership of.
Katanji drowned Jackson. You docs are good. If there's any angels in heaven, they're all nurses, male and female. God save the Queen, man.
I never get enough of that. I shall return. I'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
Maybe I should do a show, one of my Fox shows, about the glories of Gavin Newsom's California. Right here, California electricity pricing exploded in the last 3 years, far outpacing inflation. This comes from PV Magazine. So they want everybody to use electricity, brownouts and blackouts, and the prices are going through the roof. And my wife and I were in L.A. yesterday. Gas station, the price of gasoline, we looked at two stations in particular. The average price for one was $6.50, and the other one, Mr. Producer, $6.99.99. I don't know how people live like this. And that's just gasoline for your car. The price of gasoline is through the roof. The price of electricity is through the roof. They are choking off. They're choking off the engine of growth and productivity in the state of California. Apparently, they want more illegal immigrants there than they want citizens there. Apparently, they want productive people to leave and unproductive illegal aliens to come in. But whatever reason it is, this is happening, and it's no joke. At the same time, nationally, the Biden administration, Daily Caller writes, releases most restrictive offshore oil and gas drilling plan in American history. You see where this is going, right? Nationalizing oil fields and gas fields by the millions and millions of acres, eliminating other places from oil drilling, the most restrictive offshore oil and gas drilling plan in American history. Man, oh man, it's just a matter of time. We're going to hit a brick wall here. And these are because of these ideologues who don't have the foggiest idea how anything works and could care less. Their goal is to burn it all down. Even this, at Fox News, White House prohibiting official travel to fossil fuel conferences, internal memo says. So you can't even go to a conference that has fossil fuels, development, exploration, anything like that. If you work for the government, you can't go to those anymore. Now, this is a perfect example of this kind of regime that we're talking about here. That is, I call it, Marxist in many respects, and it is. Now, we have LaFonza Butler. LaFonza Butler runs Emily's List, which is a massive organization of radical kook women that raises tens of millions of dollars for Democrat candidates. And apparently that's the experience you need, that and LGBTQ and the right kind of genitalia and the right race, according to Gruesome Newsom, for him to appoint you. And even more than that, you got to make sure you live in Maryland and not California. Although Maryland is more like California than many people think. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we salute our armed forces, police officers, firefighters, emergency personnel, truckers, freedom fighters all over the world. And I want to thank you folks. Hope you'll pop over to Amazon and grab The Democrat Party Hates America. I'll see you tomorrow.